And I invite Ashling to the floor.
Just to say that we're going to be doing some floor speeches this evening, so that's where any member of our audience can give a speech. If you'd like to give a speech this evening after all our speakers finish up, there'll be 4 minutes in length. And please write your name down on a piece of paper and decide on the debate that you'd like to speak on, and hand those to me, please.
Thank you. So thank you very much for the invitation to speak here this evening. As is the way with these things, I've been smited with the snuffles, so please bear with me. Just before I go into what I've pre-prepared, I just wanted, a few people have mentioned agnosticism, and so far everyone who's talked about agnosticism has gotten it wrong. Agnosticism is not sitting on the fence. Agnosticism is about knowledge. It's about how we can know things and not know things. So, for example, you could have an agnostic atheist. It's an atheist who will question how it is that we actually understand and know things. Just a little point worth clarifying. So there are only two types of people who would find this evening's motion to be of interest. That's those who believe in gods and those who don't believe in gods. And I find the wording of this motion to be particularly interesting, that this House would believe in a God. So I just want to break that down a little bit. So first of all, I just want to consider the word God. So we need just some kind of shared definitions of what it is we mean when we're talking about God. So in this case, we're using the singular, a God. So we're not including the polytheists in this evening's discussion. Better look next time to the Hindus. For most, God with a capital G refers to the God of the Abrahamic religions. This God is a supernatural creator, a ruler of the universe, who has revealed his divine plan to us. And I'm using the male pronouns here in keeping with the tradition of the Abrahamic religions. This God is an interventionist, and a being with whom people feel they can have a personal relationship. Otherwise, really, what's the point in having a God? Most would consider this God from a theistic rather than a deistic standpoint. There are disagreements, of course, on exactly how this God has revealed his plans for humankind, or how exactly he expects humans to show their subservience to him, and through their behaviour, through their rituals, and through their general mutterings. But most who have a belief in this God agree that he has dictated a set of rules. However inconsistent and contradictory these rules may at times appear to be, and that one must live by these rules in order to gain access to an eternal paradise or avoid some kind of eternal punishment. The word would is usually followed, as Brian pointed out, by an if. I would donate all my money if I won the lotto. I would believe in a God if I was shown sufficient evidence. And both these statements are not necessarily true, by the way. It is true that I have no vested interest in there not being any God. I used to say that if I was presented with the evidence for God, I would examine it and draw conclusions from it. And if the evidence was robust enough and would withstand my examination of it, that I would be willing to change my mind. I don't really believe this statement anymore. I have a problem with it. My problem is I don't think it's possible to have robust, convincing, testable evidence that proves the existence of a God. And the onus is not on me to prove the God. The onus is on the person making the claim to present the evidence. No thanks. So if you are claiming the existence of a God, then show me your evidence for that claim. And many people, including those arguing for the proposition here this evening, have presented me with evidence for a God. However, I've never found any of this evidence compelling or robust enough to scrutiny that it has made me question my non-belief. And here's why. A belief in a God is a faith-based belief. Faith is not a virtue. Faith is believing things disproportionately to the available evidence. Or faith is pretending to know things that you do not know. Faith requires us to ignore our logic, our reason, probabilities, and the very laws of the universe. We would not allow fate to dictate any other areas of our life. We've learned that it does not end well for us. If I'm deciding to commit to a relationship with one person and they have consistently cheated on me throughout the whole time I've been with them, But I decide to go with faith and sure hope it'll work out grand this time. Well, guess what? I'm ending up in a very unhappy relationship. And of course I don't do that. I look at the evidence and then I leave their sorry ass. Let's remind ourselves that to be robust, evidence needs to be reliable and credible. It needs to be up to date, it's relevant, it is not anecdotal. No, thank you. It is not representative of any extreme or non-typical event. It has to be replicated. Your terms are well defined. You are measuring like with like. Your data is trustworthy. Opinions come from suitably qualified and non-biased experts. And you have considered all the available contradictory evidence. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Hannah Ashling, there's tons of evidence for God. It's just that you're not open to it. Well, this is your opportunity. Present your evidence, and all I ask is that you present it with the same standard of objective, robust evidence for us to evaluate that you would expect as evidence for any other claim. And remember, just like unrequited love, just because you really, really want it to be true does not make it true. And just because you read it in a book does not make it true either. And I'd ask the rest of us here this evening to evaluate this evidence in the same way as you would if it was evidence for any other claim that you would not be satisfied taking as a matter of faith. Because this is important, no thanks. Religion influences far too many areas of our lives for us to be satisfied that we can take it as a matter of faith. We believe or don't believe based on evidence, and we must challenge faith-based assertions and faith-based authority. One final point. If you do hold a faith-based belief in a God, well, I really don't care all that much, because thankfully we have the freedom to practice a religion or to hold to no religion at all. I really don't care what version of the God you've decided to worship, and I will march with you to defend your right to worship your God, while at the same time disagreeing and debating you about your worldview. What I do care about is when you decide that because you follow a particular religion, that others who do not and are not of that religion have to live by your beliefs. If certain actions go against your religion, then by all means don't carry out those actions. But do not assume that because you have religion on your side, that you have the right or the authority to force others to live by your rules, because you believe you have access to some divine intervention and revelation. In a secular and pluralist society, we need to discuss issues of morality freely and openly. We need to engage with social issues with respect, compassion, understanding. We need to be slower to judge, and as Brian said, we need to treat people with dignity. We need to bring empathy to the table, and we need to listen to the experience of others. What we do not do is we do not dictate what we think is moral or right based on what we think a supernatural being, whose existence lacks any real evidence, is telling us to do. And when you are the editor of a Catholic magazine that you publish and distribute into homes around Ireland that contain rhetoric such as secularism is the most absurd and most anti-human ideology that humans have ever come up with. This evil secularist ideology must be vigorously opposed by right-thinking people before it completely destroys our families, our society, and our culture. Today's insidious secularism infiltrates our minds, our thinking, our conversation, without us even being aware of it. Christians must expose the ruthless brutality of secularist morality. Secularist psychology encourages self-centeredness with its focus on shallow notions like self-esteem, full potential, and positive thinking. And secularists, held firmly by despair, cling for security to a sinking anchor, rather than admit they got it wrong. We shouldn't let them bring them down to the depths with us. Well, then you are guilty, at the very least, of deliberately spreading misinformation, and at the very worst, of the unchristian act of spreading hate against your fellow citizens. Secularists are citizens who deserve respect, no more and no less than all our other citizens. Secularists are parents and grandparents, carers and teachers, volunteers, Gardaí, politicians, employers and employees, nurses, doctors, farmers. They are religious and they are non-religious alike. They come from every social strata and every walk of life. And bigotry against secular citizens, as with any other citizens of our nation, must be condemned in the strongest of terms. Please oppose the motion. Thank you.